All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Bottom Line Podcast. Got my good friend here, Richard J. Washington. Hold on. Before we even start, the Bottom Line Podcast, where we say what we mean and we mean what we say, because at the core of everything that is, was, and forever will be, there will always be the bottom line. Today's guest, again, Mr. Richard J. Washington. Richard, I mean, it's a circus out there, man.
Incredibly crazy, but I just want to say, first of all, thanks for having me back.
Yeah.
And it's a pleasure to be here, man.
Thanks for coming back. For coming back. The last time we had a conversation, we touched on some key points, man. And I think a lot of times what we need to have ongoing conversations, because things change, perspectives can change. And I think we need to show more evolution in our thought process when it comes to a myriad of topics, not just, the election, right? But this one is a big one. This
This is huge.
Yeah. So at least we can have an open dialogue about, I mean, it was a circus, man. Like I want to know, I kind of want to try to focus on some takeaways, right?
Okay.
Did you get any takeaways from this at all?
Not really. I'll be honest with you. Well, I did get a takeaway from it. I think both candidates were who they are, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I was disappointed on both sides of the fence that it devolved into ad hominem attacks on one another versus a discussion about agendas. The biggest takeaway that I got is we're dealing with two contrasting personalities. And I don't know that either candidate put themselves in a position where they're going to attract anyone who was not already in their camp.
Gotcha. So like those fence sitters, the swing voters, right?
Exactly.
The undecideds, right? That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I do think that Trump was successful in that he was able to kind of pull Biden to the right. Yeah. During that debate.
In what way?
Well, I know they were talking about the Green Deal that came up. And when Trump discussed some of the more liberal policies of the Democratic Party, tied those to Biden was quick to jump back and say, I'm the Democratic Party. This is me. And this is what I'm saying it's going to be. And I don't know if that was the best move for him, because I don't know that in this climate, I don't know that we're looking for a moderate to be the candidate. You got to be hot or cold. If you're lukewarm, I'm going to spew you out of my mouth. Right.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. Were you disappointed? As far as did you have expectations going in?
It was what I expected it was going to be.
Yeah, me too.
I was a little bit surprised that Biden didn't play the more seasoned politician.
Right. Yeah.
And because I think in the beginning, it worked to his benefit that Trump was kind of spoke over him. Yeah. Really took command of the entire debate.
Yeah.
And I thought he would have done better allowing the moderator to try to maintain some sense of order as opposed to trying to speak right back to him.
Yeah. Well, you argue for a living, Rich, right?
Right.
You do, right? So you have to know when is a good time to interject, to jump in, to let somebody, hang themselves, kind of, so to speak, right? So as a lawyer, though, do you think that Wallace, the moderator, do you think he was biased in any way? Do you think he was fair?
Nah, I mean, I don't really think he was. I don't think he was biased in any way, because I think to some extent, in the same manner that you could say he was biased in singling out Trump or, forcing Trump to answer the questions, I think a few times he didn't necessarily give Biden the rebuttal that he needed to some of the statements that were made. But I think the bigger concern that I had with Wallace was that he didn't keep the speakers on topic.
Yeah.
He didn't demand an answer for the question that was being posed. Yeah. And I think he did that a lot on both sides.
Yeah. It was a volcano waiting to erupt, I think, between the both of them.
Of course, yeah.
I think I think Wallace was like a innocent bystander. He just kind of got hit with some what do you call that? He got caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, he was trying to break up the fight and caught a right hand.
He caught a right hand. He caught a few from Trump, right?
Right.
At some point, Trump was like, "Well, now I'm debating two people," and that's what it felt like for me when I was watching. I was like, "Well, this guy." First of all, I was afraid of him losing his job because the last time somebody came at him like that, I think it was Kellyanne Conway. She's gone now, right?
Right.
So I'm like, okay, look, dude, if you want to keep your job, you need to chill out. You need to be more objective. And you got to know that he's coming in for ratings. That's the one thing I know about Trump. And if you watch him, I mean, he knows how to manipulate, not just the media, but the person he's arguing with. So for Biden to come down to his level, I was like, wow, that was way too easy, right? Because it's like,
right.
How did we get to a point where, and I understand the interruptions, and I think it's a tactic on Trump's part, right? To bring the fight to him, to bring the fight to Biden. But it's kind of like, okay, I can't show him that it landed. I can't show him that I'm frustrated. I have to be the standard. I have to be presidential. And for him to just come out and be like, shut up, man. I was so surprised. I was like, oh, that's it. Biden is in it. He's in a dogfight now, right?
But did you think that Trump was presidential?
I didn't expect him to be at all.
So we just agree that he was not presidential.
Of course not. Yeah. I think that's the reason he got elected is because he's not presidential, right? If you look at his base and you look at, how he's been since campaigning even, right? I mean, I would never, when I watched Obama campaign, I was taking notes. And I literally started reading more books because I was like fascinated by his vocabulary and like how articulate he was, how eloquent of a speaker he was. I was just blown away. So I literally, when I sat down with my dad and I was still in college, it was like 2008, right? And we would sit there and listen to this man speak. And I was like, wow, I was just blown away, right?
Right.
I started sitting in the front of my classes from that point on, right? And I started taking things way more seriously when I watched Obama campaign. Now, when I watched Trump campaign, I was, it was just a whole different. I mean, his posture, he's at a real man-to-man, eyeball to eyeball. This is just the way he is, right? So I never expected him to come across as presidential. But when I was surprised, I'll be honest with you, I was surprised that Biden actually was alert. He was consistent, and he was trying to continue to bring the fight. He didn't, take a hit on the chin and just back out. He was consistent. You go after my family, I'll go after yours, kind of deal.
I don't recall, and I don't know, but I do want to just kind of double back to the thing with Wallace, because I think the perception is that Wallace was biased. That's what I've heard, especially on the right.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that the reason that he's being perceived as biased is because he was trying to maintain order.
You think so?
Right? I do. Okay. I think initially, I think he was really just trying to get him to allow. The idea was you speak, he speaks, we speak, we have a dialogue.
Right.
Trump wouldn't let him have that. He couldn't make a comment without being talked over.
Yeah.
And I think Trump was the biggest transgressor in that regard, looking at it strictly from a debate perspective.
Yeah.
Right. If we're going to have a conversation and you want to hear what I have to say and you're not afraid by my truth or you're not afraid by my position, then let me articulate it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I think what happened was then that's when you start getting into the place where we're devolving into the weeds and we're not talking about the issues. So I think really what he was trying to do was maintain some level of decorum.
Yeah.
But he was unable to do it. Now, the fact that he singled out Trump was because Trump was the initial aggressor, if that makes any sense, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because you made that, and I wrote it down because I know you had noted that, he manipulates the media, right? But at this point, this isn't the Rose Garden in the White House.
Right.
We're not asking you about the affairs of the day where you can like pivot and shift.
Right.
Supposedly, I'm trying to get your stance on, COVID. I'm trying to get your stance on the economy. And if you dodge that question, or when I pose it to him, you speak over him,
Yeah.
you know, I lose control of this interaction. And that's ultimately what happened.
Yeah. So what's funny, I like that you said that, right, about dodging the question. And let's just go back a little bit about Wallace. When Wallace pointed out that the Obama plan, Trump repealing the Obama plan, was not going to be replaced by something comprehensive, he injected his opinion right there. And once he did that, he lost his objectivity.
Really?
Yeah.
But
it was kind of like, oh, well, you know, if you're going to ask an open-ended question, don't lead the person you're asking the question to, right, to respond in the way you want them to respond. There's stories out there, there are articles out there saying that the questions that were asked were in favor of Biden against the president. So
which ones do you think?
That one, starting with that one, why he's repealing Obamacare and what he's gonna replace it with. And when he was like mid-sentence of saying what he was, you know, the reason why he was repealing it, and you gotta, you know, what's crazy is like the media does this also, and this is something that I kind of want to talk to you about, because I don't know if you probably did moot court, right, when you were still in school.
I did mock trials,
right?
Yeah,
mock trials too. I took paralegal for like 2 semesters. Loved the mock trials. It was like Law and Order. I felt like I was somebody. You know what I mean?
Right,
so
no doubt.
Like, yeah, it was fun, right? So it's like when you ask somebody a question and you cut them off mid-sentence as they're responding, you interrupt their train of thought. So that, I think that's exactly what Wallace did when he said, "Oh, that's not a comprehensive plan." It's like, wait, dogs, like you're not in the White House. You don't know what I'm being met with. You don't even know what that Affordable Care Act looks like. You're calling it the Obama plan. And once you tag it the Obama plan, it's already the left. We've already made it a left, and I'm already going against the left. But really what it is, it's the Affordable Care Act. So now if I'm telling you that at the core of it is we're looking at seniors, we're looking at people with pre-existing conditions, and that's what we really have to replace, let me tell you how I'm going to do it, because let's first define what it is and then go. Now, when he jumps in and he says, that's not a comprehensive plan, it's like, well, now who am I really debating against? Right? Because He is, even though he's supposed to be the moderator, he is media.
Right. But I mean, I got to keep you honest though, don't I?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we can't say that. I don't know that I could say if you tag it Obamacare, you pull it left, because the Republicans named it Obamacare to try to make it derogatory towards Obama when he passed the legislation. So you can't then, I mean, you gave that moniker.
Right. Well,
Obamacare is not a moniker that came from the Democratic Party. It's actually a moniker that came, I believe Trump was a big proponent of it during his his run for president.
Yeah, you're right about that. But as the moderator, as the objective person in the seat, it should have been called the Affordable Care Act, right? That way it makes it neutral, and then whoever would have picked up that it's Obamacare, right? I think it's all about language too. It's like, okay, how do you plan on replacing the Affordable Care Act, right? If he had done that and he had listened to how Trump was going to respond, then it would have been, okay, he's being objective. So at some point, to me, I felt like he was biased and more in favor of Biden. And the other part about it that was a little bit weird to me, right, was, and look, again, I'm looking at it from like Trump being somebody who's looking for ratings. He's looking for a way he's going to manipulate the media. He's going to treat this like The Apprentice, and he's going to rave about it the day after. I'm pretty sure of it, right? So he's going to bring the fight to Biden. What was interesting to me is when Biden started jumping in and talking about what Trump was trying to talk about, that question there was never answered. And then it was just like, all right, 2 minutes is up, go off to the next one, right? It was moving too fast. American people don't even think at that pace.
Right.
Within a 2-minute window to understand a response. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think also that was because, and I mean, I think Trump said it at one point, Trump really wasn't concerned with answering the question that was being posed to him. He was concerned with saying what he wanted to say.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
And to the extent a question was posed to Biden, Trump would interject with another question, which, you know, I mean, that is what it is.
Yeah.
But just to go back, if I refer to this piece of legislation using the same language that you've used since that legislation has been in existence,
yeah,
I don't know if I'm politicizing it any more than it's already been politicized. The funny part about it is how many people were against Obamacare, but then realized they were going to lose benefits if the Affordable Care Act was
There we go.
repealed.
There we go.
You know,
So
it's just the politicization of things. So
you're right on the money. I agree with that 100% right there.
Yeah, I mean, everybody hated it until you realize, oh, you're benefiting from it.
Yeah,
right. So, but I mean, but that's politics. And to that point, I don't know that. I just think he completely lost control of it. More than being unbiased or being biased, I think he lost control of it. And I think, as you said, Trump was bombastic. He was a bull inside of a china shop. Yeah. He came in to kind of just, you know, exert his dominance over everyone. That was his objective. And I think the people that like him, that's what they wanted to see.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you this question. I think you're right? Because I was entertaining. I think for me, it was more entertaining than anything else.
It's cringeworthy, bro.
Yeah. Was it really for you cringeworthy?
It was cringeworthy. Yeah, because I mean, you know, I mean, the close, I think you should be presidential if you're the president.
Let me ask you this. This is the question I want to ask you, because a lot of people go back to that, right? Now, are we putting the position on a pedestal, or are we putting the individual that's in that position on a pedestal?
It's the position. Always the position.
Okay. So I was trained, like my dad was in politics, right? So I was trained to listen for what's not being said. I was trained to listen for people evading questions, right? And I think that where people get disappointed is, not only does he answer your question, the way that he answers your question puts you up in arms. You know what I mean? Because it makes you think on the defensive, right? Though that's the way he answers questions. He doesn't ever apologize or evade any questions. He gets right to it. There are no smoke and mirrors with this guy.
Yeah, but you got to, I mean, that's the question too. If I'm the moderator, and I don't know, I'd like to ask you this. If I'm the moderator, if you're moderating the presidential debate, what responsibility, if any, do you have to ensure that the individuals who are debating are being factually honest?
All right. So, yeah, it's you're right. As the moderator, though, I think everything needs to be objective. When you talk about, if he's asking questions about, they put him on the spot. They said, are you right now willing to, what did he say about the Proud Boys?
Oh, my God, that was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. So
we gotta really look into that, right? Because if you hear about the Proud Boys, why didn't we hear about Antifa?
Well, we did. Actually, we have to let's walk it back a bit, right? And let's make that statement. Are you willing to denounce white supremacy? And he said, sure.
Right.
That was the one point, that entire debate, that they gave him the floor, both sides, and they told him to do it, and he didn't do it. Who do you want me to denounce? What do you want me to say? Come on, man. If you're smart enough to be the president of the United States and you don't know what to say when someone asks you to denounce white supremacy, come on, man. And then you point out some fringe group that I never even heard of, which I thought was interesting. But so he points out this fringe group and he tells them to stand by and stand down, and he spins right into Antifa. Like, we can have a discussion. That can be a question. That can be a matter of discussion. But if you're really trying to endear yourself, or if you're even trying to show yourself as an attractive candidate to Black America, and you've been involved in this type of rhetoric with Charlottesville, saying there are good people on both sides, when you're given an opportunity on the biggest stage that you've been on thus far with a candidate who's already blatantly called you a racist, why do you need someone to tell you how to denounce white supremacy?
Okay, let's answer that question, right? I love that you.
But answer it. I love to hear. I gotta hear this answer.
Let's do that, because again, it's all about who's controlling the narrative, right? It's all about who's controlling the narrative. So as far as we're concerned, right? If we want to really think about it, what we've been hearing is Trump is a racist. That's what we've been hearing. He's a racist. What we've been hearing is he has not denounced white supremacy, right? We've heard that also. But what we haven't heard, which is hilarious to me, because when I heard it, I was like, oh, get out of here. Why didn't I hear this? Right? And that's why I want to have these conversations. When I heard that he declared the KKK as national terrorists, and he's in the process of prosecuting them, I was like, well, why didn't I hear this? He declared Antifa, and he declared the KKK as national terrorists. Not only that, he passed an order. Did
he do that, or did the FBI do that?
No, he did that. He did that, right? And his administration did that. Here's the other part.
His administration did that.
Of course, it's him and his administration. Trump doesn't listen to anybody. So it's like Trump is going to do what he wants to do. At the end of the day, he's going to hear all the advice. He's going to hear all his advisors, and he's going to say, go do this, go do that. That's how he rolls. It's just the way he is, right? I mean, you can't train this guy to listen to anybody. How many people got kicked out of his cabinet since he's been in the White House, right?
How many people got indicted?
Yeah, but let's look at it on this level, right? Why haven't I ever heard? Why didn't I hear in the media, right, that he actually declared the KKK as national terrorists along with the Antifa? I didn't hear that. Number two, why didn't Wallace preface that question, right? Not only that, we don't see that statues are being torn down anymore because he recently passed a bill that you get 10 years. You get 10 years if you get caught up pulling down a statue. 10 years. He passed that bill.
To protect Confederate statues.
Okay, whatever the story is, whatever the reasoning is, it was passed, and the media is not talking about it. So now when Wallace asks the question, and they put him in a position back to the wall, this is what was interesting to me is that he didn't back out, he didn't evade. He said, "Who exactly do you want me to talk about?" Because there's so many layers to what we're calling white supremacy, right? So it's like at the end of the day now, if he says, and I think it was no problem asking that question, and when he said, and we got to go way back now to what Wallace said, are you willing to tell him to stand down? He says, who do you want me to talk to specifically? Who are they? And then he goes ahead and he says, stand back, stand down, right? That's what he says. Wallace should have asked that question.
I think he said stand by. Yeah. I don't think he told him to stand down.
Stand by, whatever it was.
He didn't tell him to stand down.
Whatever it was, stand by, right? That's
what does that mean?
Stand by, get ready for action if I call on you, right? That's what he's saying.
All right, so you're telling a white supremacist group
hold on now,
stand by and get ready for action.
Hold on. We have to understand who exactly he's talking to, which is why, again, I'm not defending whatever the Proud Boys are. I don't even know who they are. I've never heard of them, right?
Me neither.
When you say white supremacy, to me, I think KKK. That's all I think off the bat, right? So when he said, and this is what was crazy to me, I was like, yo, number one, there's no respect for the president at all. The role, the position, there's no respect for it whatsoever, right? I don't see it coming from the media. I don't see it coming from Biden. I don't see it coming from the moderator. No respect for the president at all. No, I know if it was prefaced with, I know you recently passed a bill that gives people 10 years in jail if they pull down a statue. I also know that you recently declared KKK as a national terrorist group. I also know now what we're asking you to do here, are you willing to denounce white supremacy, right? It wasn't prefaced in a way that gives him any credit for his accomplishments. None.
I mean, listen, you're the president of the United States. You're not my kindergarten child who just got a 97 on their test. Well, I don't have to pat you on the back and give you an attaboy for doing something you should already do.
Okay, well, that's the other side.
But let me just
finish that thought. Thought, right? Not only is it okay for him not to preface that question with that, right, with his accomplishments, but it's also not okay that he didn't ask Biden the same question. Are you willing to pull back your Antifa goons and denounce them, right? Well, because that's a radical left group, the Antifa movement. They're not really a Black Lives Matter movement. They hop on protests, and they're a radical left group,
right?
That protects the interests of the extreme left. So he should have been asking the question on both sides. You know what I mean? And make it objective. He should have been like, now, Mr. Biden, Vice President Biden, are you willing to? And we know that you passed a 94 crime bill. We know you did that. We also know that you said X, Y, and Z about Obama before you became his VP.
Right. You said he was articulate.
Yeah. Right. Now, are you willing to denounce the actions of Antifa? Oh, it's just an imagination. He never asked the question, and then he went ahead and said, "Oh, it's just an imagination. It's just imagine." Like it doesn't.
Well, no, I think what he said was that Trump's own FBI has already said that Antifa is not what Trump was purporting it to be.
Right.
But
was it objective? Is my question to you. You're a lawyer. You're an attorney. Was it an objective question? The way he asked the question.
But here's the thing. When you get an open-ended question that says do it, right? Never mind your accomplishments. I just want to go back to that opportunity and that platform. Okay. So if you tell me, Richard, are you willing to denounce murder? I'm not going to say, well, what kind of murder are you talking about? Are you talking about felony murder? Are you talking about first degree murder? Are you talking about, I'm denouncing it.
But he said, sure.
But wait a second. I just got to say this.
Yeah.
When we're not talking about white supremacy, yeah, there's the KKK, there's neo-Nazis. White supremacy is a structure and an ideal that exists within this country that is designed to subjugate people of color.
Yeah.
Are you denouncing that structure?
Yeah.
And once again, like, I don't like the idea of who do you want me to, I want you to denounce the entire idea of it.
Right.
Right. And the reason we're asking you and we're not asking Biden is because you've gone on record when neo-Nazis engage in violent behavior saying that they're good people on that side of the aisle. So if you're going to do that, what we want to know is, is that the idea that you still have, or are you willing to denounce any idea that is based upon the superiority of white people versus the inferiority of black people?
Yeah.
That's very simple.
Yeah, I
that's
think
very simple.
I think you're right about that.
And if you get that floor and you cannot, and you can't, that's a fastball at 92 miles an hour coming straight over the plate. And if you can't knock that out of the park, you don't know how to hit a fastball.
Right.
You're president of the United States. You know that words matter. You know how to filibuster. Yeah. You know how to speak. You know how to override somebody. You also know how to evade a question. And what you did was you evaded that question and you turned it back to Antifa. Great. We could talk about Antifa if that's what it is. But you also have to understand that if you're going to tell Joe Biden to denounce it, you have to highlight at least one instance where he's supported it, so either explicitly or implicitly.
Here's what we don't know. And what we're not supposed to know.
Uh-oh.
What we don't know, and this is not conspiracy.
Okay, good. Okay.
I saw the uh-ohs. I was like, no, this is not a conspiracy. What we don't know is that those militia groups are the ones in those cities that are standing up to Antifa. That's what we don't know.
So we have police for.
What's that? No.
So we have police for.
Hear me out. That's what we don't know. And as far as the media is concerned, the police are being told to stand down, right? So we're having peaceful protests. And when you have a peaceful protest, Antifa hops in. And now there's police, Blue Lives Matter now is a movement, right? All Lives Matter, Black Guns Matter. There's so many different movements out there now, right? So when you're talking about, mass media and what we're being told as Americans, when we look deeper, what's happening is this is gangs in New York, man. This is gangs in New York. It's like the left have their goons, the right have their goons. The right goons, some of them are militia groups that are going against, in those cities where Antifa is present, they're going right against, they're fighting Antifa on the streets. And they're doing it on behalf of maybe not the president. They're doing it on behalf of their local communities. And then now what happens is the president gets wind of that and it makes him automatically responsible. Where it's like, what happened to the local levels? What happened to the community organizers? What happened to the congressmen? Why is this not being handled? And then he says, well, the governors won't allow me to react. The governors won't let me bring in the National Guard. You want to bring it to me? This is how I'm going to react. But the governors are not allowing him to do that. And that's happening in democratic cities. So it's kind of like, here, and you can see it kind of, I'm thinking about it as an organization, right? And if the CEO says, you know what, I'm going to give this to my operations manager, I'm going to give this to my chief of staff, and he just tells them what to do, then they have to execute. And when we had the virus and he said, you know what, I'm going to leave it up to the governors to figure out what they want to do in their states. This is a guy who wants to empower the people in control in their states. So if I'm going to allow you to open up your states however you want to, when you deem appropriate, right? And I allow you to do that because I'm in the federal government, I'm the president, you should be able to handle your constituents. If you need my help, I'm going hard. I'm bringing the National Guard. Because he's functioning at a very high level.
But that's the issue, I think, is that you're not bringing in the National Guard. You're telling a militia group, we saw this young man that shot 3 people with the AR-15. And you're telling this militia group to stand back and stand by. You're putting them on alert for what? I mean, on one hand, I'm fine with the idea that Antifa should be condemned, or Antifa, to the extent they're engaging in any type of violent behavior, should be off the grid. Yeah. But if you're dealing with a group that's also engaged in misogyny, white supremacy, whatever the case may be, and you're telling them to stand by, even if you had no responsibility for their creation, once you give them a directive that they then follow, you're assuming responsibility for every action that they take thereafter. Yeah, because you took the order, you gave them the order. Do you think he knows? I'm wondering myself. Do you think he knows about
the Proud Boys? Do you think he knows about those guys?
I didn't know who they were. He put them in his mouth.
I think it came from the moderator. It came from the moderator.
But that's the point. I mean, that's the biggest point of all. You're in a position where you can't talk before you think. You can't talk unless you know. You should. Like at this point, you're the head executive. You're the chief executive. You're the CEO.
Yeah.
You can't go in. You got to look at the quarterly report before you give it to the board, or you're not, or that's malfeasance.
This is what makes him interesting.
So it borders on incompetence.
No, well,
because you have to know what you're saying. I'm not gonna, if that's the problem, you can't say that he didn't know who he was talking to. And that should be the issue. And if he did know who he was talking to, that should be the issue. There's no good way to get out of that.
No, you're right. But here's what I'm saying. And you're right. There's an expectation because of his level, because of his position.
Right.
We're setting our expectations too high here.
That's unfortunate. That's sad.
At the end of the day, what I do is I like to listen to how people communicate. I like to hear how they respond. I like to hear how they interact. And my whole thing is like, all right, if this person is not, doesn't have any malicious intent, any malintent, if I can understand how they communicate, how they respond, then I can communicate and respond with them, right? It makes sense. Okay. That's how I see
Absolutely.
it. So now, because we see it as the position itself, we put the position on a pedestal, and Trump is the one in that position, it's like now we become judgmental about how he's doing the job, right? And it's like, okay, fine. Maybe he's not doing it to our expectation, but he's doing the job. So what he needs at the end of the day, he's doing the job. And when we go into it, like when we really want to go into it, we want to be objective and say, okay, what has he been able to do? And none of the questions, again, when it comes to the moderator, and this is what I see when I watch, Kellyanne McEnany do her press conferences as the press secretary, the media ambushes. They ambush the president. They ambush the press secretary. And if you watch anybody when they listen to Cuomo, when Cuomo does his, and the media asks Cuomo a question, it's very calm. It's very respectful. And he's the governor, not the president. Right. So why is it that the president gets ambushed by the media, but the governor of every state does not get ambushed?
Because he lies.
Well,
because he says things that he doesn't know.
This is
and he gives his opinion on issues that he doesn't understand, or he misstates the facts. And at the end of the day, I think the function of the media is to make sure that people get the truth. Now we have fake media now, right?
Right.
So that's the rhetoric. But I mean, on some things, they're just objectively quantifiable.
Yeah. What do you want to learn from this guy? Like, what do you expect if he does win, right? And
there's a good chance that he will.
Okay, and you're stuck with him. What are your expectations for him?
Nothing.
Really?
I have none. I have none. I don't really have any expectations for him because I'm of the mind, and I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to be straightforward with you. Yeah. I'm of the mind that no matter who wins, the manner in which Richard Washington continues to my standard operating procedure is probably not going to change. I'm not expecting Donald Trump to change my life. I'm not expecting Joe Biden to save my life.
Right.
I think that we still don't know who Trump is. I think that, who he was in the 80s is not who he was in the 90s, is not who he is today.
Right.
And I think the person that he was to get elected is not the person that he is to get reelected. And I think that if he does win, that's when we're going to see who he really is. And that's a very unsettling ambiguity.
Yeah.
Because we don't know. He's not gonna have to sell himself to anyone anymore. Hopefully he'll start viewing himself through the lens of history. Yeah. And he'll start wondering how history is going to review some of the things that he's done through his presidency.
Yeah.
And how he's going to contribute to American society at the end of the day.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm asking you questions that I asked myself before we did this, right? Is the 94 crime bill forgivable?
Wait. Well, is it forgivable?
Is it forgivable?
I don't know if I can answer that question, right? I would like to say everything is forgivable. I really would. I could say that The crime bill that passed under Trump is commendable.
He reformed the
I can
prison
say
system.
that.
Yeah, right. He reformed it. Yeah,
yeah. I could say that's commendable. I could say that without equivocation.
Right.
And the money that was given to HBCUs was also commendable.
Opportunity zones.
Yep, I could say that.
Okay.
I could definitely say that.
So he's got a shot.
Well, I don't know.
I'm asking if he's winning the black vote. Does he have a shot at the black vote?
No chance.
Does he have a shot of changing black Democrats to become Trump supporters? Not necessarily Republicans, just Trump supporters.
I think he squandered that with that white supremacy statement.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I think there were a lot of people that watched that. I know there were a lot of people that watched that debate with an eye towards giving him an opportunity.
Gotcha.
With an eye towards giving him the benefit of the doubt, right? Mm-hmm. But as you said, words have power, words have meaning. And on something as basic as that, mm-hmm. I think that was a humongous fail.
Gotcha.
I don't know if he could recover from that, but see, I think the difficulty is that Trump's base is composed in large part of a lot of people who subscribe to the tenets of white supremacy. And in order for him to embrace the black community in the way that the black community needs to be embraced to support him, he would alienate a considerable percentage of his base.
So the whole declaring the KKK as a national terrorist group, that doesn't work. That's not enough.
Not at all.
Okay.
I mean, here's the question. No, that doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. It's a really tough spot. It's a really tough spot. It really is, especially for Black Americans, because that's the vote that it seems like both politicians are going after right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you do it? Do you pander like Biden does, or do you just shoot straight like Trump does? Because both of them, at the end of the day, are like, they're both borderline offensive. You know what I mean?
So how does when you say pander, are you talking about maybe by naming Kamala as the VP?
Well, she's not black for one, right? Like, she's not black. She's like Indian and Jamaican, bro. Like, or whatever it is. Right?
Well, Jamaican is black.
Well, I don't know. She's like, you ask some Jamaicans who are like black Guyanese, like black Guyanese, they won't identify as black. They'll say, no, I'm, you know what I mean?
But what does America see her as?
That's
Having gone to Howard University, has she not had the black experience?
Yes, that's where I'm going with this. So you got like Bill Clinton being the first black president, but really though?
Listen, we can have a whole, if you want to have me back,
is where I'm going.
We can have a whole other thing where I will no. Bill
this is what I'm saying. So that's borderline offensive. And for you to go on, what's his name? Charlemagne the God show and say, oh, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Like, bro, really? Would you say that to Robert F. Smith? Would you say that to a $5 billion hedge fund investor, William F. Smith? No. Would you say that to Richard Washington?
Right.
Probably not, because you got to bring your game. He's going to call you out. He's educated. He understands. So it's like you're pandering in a way, or like Pelosi with the whole taking a knee. You know what I mean? The whole party in a way that's like, okay,
and the kente cloth. And the kente cloth. Yeah,
right. And even Cory Booker. And that's who I expected to be the nominee. I expected Cory Booker to be next.
I would have loved to see Cory Booker be the nominee. I would have been very in favor of that.
But forget it. If you had Cory Booker and maybe Kamala Harris, if you had Cory Booker or maybe Andrew Yang, Cory Booker should have been, because he's the most.
Yeah, Cory Booker and Yang, that would have been good. If Cory Booker and Bernie.
Right? I kind of on the lifeline with Bernie. I love Bernie. But on the lifeline, I'm a little concerned, right?
But give him an elder statesman, because he's still, I think he would do good with an elder statesman, somebody who's kind of been around and, but I get what you're saying, definitely.
Yeah, if you want to really appeal to the black vote and you want Cory Booker, because that's a guy who was in the heart of it all in Newark, right? So he understands the plight of the black community. Not only that, he's willing to change it. And he's not pandering. He's not he doesn't politicize anything. He shoots straight. He understands. Andrew Yang is the same kind of guy. He appeals to the blue collar, common man, right? Working class American. So
my wife loves Andrew Yang.
You see what I'm saying?
My wife was a huge fan of him. Yeah.
So it's like, if you prop up Joe Biden now, and the way that he's going, he went after Cardi B, he went on Charlemagne the God, and the words that are coming out of his mouth, right? As somebody who's been in the game for 47 years, even this is what the part that I'm like, yo, how do people even want to vote for him? Because it's like, is the lesser of two evils, honestly. At least with Trump, I know what I'm getting. But with this guy, I'm not sure what I'm getting, right? And then when he gets on there and he says something like, well, poor kids are just as bright as white kids. It's like, well, does that mean that white kids are not poor? So for you, all black kids are poor? Is that how you see it? You see what I'm saying? So it's like,
Right.
you could have, if the Democratic Party itself could have picked a better nominee, if they really wanted to appeal to the black race, somebody like Cory Booker. And now you got somebody like Trump, and it's like, well, you know, he's never been presidential. He's never held any kind of political office. This is a businessman, a magnate, you know what I mean? And he's there being himself. And what does he know how to do? Manipulate, market, right? The media, market himself, get the ratings, and he knows how to negotiate and get deals done. He's a no BS kind of guy. He's a bottom line guy. There's a generation of those kinds of guys out there.
I think he's a complete BS kind of guy, though.
Yeah, I agree with you. Hey, listen, you know, on the same page there.
Yeah, I think he's a complete BS kind of guy, and I worry. That's the thing that makes me so, among other things, concerned about him is the fact that I don't know what Trump is going to show up.
He knows how to call. He knows how to call. He knows how to call bullshit when he needs to.
And well, I think his position is dictated by his audience, which makes me feel as though he's unprincipled.
Oh, okay. That's got levels to it. That's got levels.
Right.
That's got levels because he's a businessman. So it's like,
right.
That's got levels to it. We can really peel that back. That's a longer conversation.
But understand what I'm saying. I mean, I like the idea of, I think if I'm going to say, if Jean-Jacques is a straight shooter,
yeah, that
means it is what it is in front of Richard Washington, just like it is in front of, you know, Mark Lamont Hill.
Yeah.
My position is going to be my position. My stand on this issue is unwavering.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's principle and that's character.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of times, even in business, that principle and that character is going to take you a lot further than telling a person what they want to hear. Right. And I say that as an attorney. A lot of times, the only job I have is to give the person bad news.
Yeah.
You understand?
Right.
Imagine if you went to the doctor and you find that you've got some life-threatening illness. Yeah. And because he doesn't want to tell you what it is, he says you're fine and you go home and you die 6 months later.
Yeah.
He's gonna sue him for malpractice.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we want a doctor that's gonna tell us the diagnosis is bad and then prescribe some level of treatment to mitigate the harm.
Right.
You gotta be honest in that position. Yeah. And I think because the presidency is so multifaceted. Now, I do want to go to your point about if you don't vote for me, you're not black.
Yeah. Do you have time for
those
that?
type of things.
Yeah. Do you have time for that?
I got about 5 more minutes if that works.
Yeah. It's up to you.
I do think that was a horrible choice of words.
Yeah.
But it underscores a bigger issue in the black community that our vote is taken for granted by Democrats and dismissed by Republicans. So Trump came out with his agenda for Black America, right? Mm-hmm. Probably not going to win the black vote. Joe Biden needs an agenda for Black America. The black vote needs to be in play for whomever proposes a series of policies that advance the black position. Because unlike other minorities, our position is very unique and our history within this country is unique. And we need somebody who's going to advance policies that speak to that.
So to speak to that, with the criminal reform and with his recent rally in Atlanta, do you think he'll get Atlanta?
Will he get Atlanta or will he get Georgia? Yeah,
Georgia, Atlanta. Because really, Atlanta is the black mecca of Georgia.
Right, but when was the last time a Democrat carried Georgia?
No, I'm talking about Trump.
Yeah, I mean, when was it? But I'm pretty sure he's going to win Georgia, not because he's going to win Atlanta, but because he's going to win everything that surrounds Atlanta and the way that we
that's where
take that vote into consideration.
Okay.
You know, I don't know that he's going to carry the popular vote within this. I'd be very surprised if Trump carries a popular vote in any urban area.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
They're going hard out there with their little MAGA hats and their little music. Yeah.
And listen, I'm upstate New York. I've been in Rhode Island since this has gone down. I've been in Connecticut. He's got
talking about
huge support there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think within urban areas, I think but that's not exclusive to Trump.
Yeah.
That's Democrat and Republican. The cities tend to be more liberal. The rural areas tend to be more conservative.
Gotcha.
And I think what he's trying to do is he's just trying to chip in to those urban areas and pick up votes that may help him carry a state.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. How do you grade, honestly?
Okay. Uh-oh, here we go.
I want your honest opinion because you're a lawyer, so arguing is what you do for a living. No?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
And you have to have a strategy. You have to have, a tactic. You got to know how to go in. You got to know how to deliver. You got to know how to create a point, how to draw out a point, how to draw a crowd, how to convince the jury, right? Which is us. Like, we're, at the end of the day, voters. We're the jury. Worst case scenario, this goes to Supreme Court, right? That's what he's banking on, for it to go to Supreme Court. And we can peel that back a couple of layers too next time we talk, right?
Right.
Because I want to get your input on that. But honestly speaking, how do you grade Biden and how do you grade Trump? Also, how do you grade Wallace from A to like a F?
Oh my gosh. I think this is the sad reality of it.
Yeah.
You have to put Biden on a curve.
Why is that?
Because I think the expectations for him were quite low. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, you're right.
I'll be honest with you. I'm going to speak for myself.
Yeah.
I was not expecting Biden to burn it up.
Yeah.
I think that, as you said before, I think that Biden, I think that the Democratic Party could have advanced a stronger candidate.
Sure.
And I think because of that, and because Trump is so bombastic, you already knew that he was going to take control of everything. Right. But if we're talking about everyone staying in character, everyone did just that, right? Everybody stayed where they're supposed to be.
Points to appeal to the American people. We're grading them on their ability to appeal to the American people to vote.
Who did that better?
Yeah, who did that better? Would you say?
I mean, I would have to say, I think Biden did that better.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know that the American people. Well, it depends on who you're asking, right? Because
I'm asking you. I don't.
If you're asking me, I think Biden appealed more to me because, as I said before, I'm kind of a little bit more traditional in that I would have liked to see neither one of them, attacking families and attacking that type of stuff. I would rather hear it be a really issue-driven discussion.
Yeah, policies and such, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would rather have heard an issue-driven, just a policy-driven discussion.
Yeah.
And we didn't get that. I think the country lost more than anybody.
Sure. Yeah.
Because now we're electing characters, and we're not going to be electing on who has the best way forward.
Yeah.
We're going to be electing on who's got the best snap on your son.
The zingers.
Who's
right?
got
I got a list of zingers. Yeah, I got a list of
That's
zingers.
so low brow. Like, we're better than that.
Yeah, they were really good though.
Yeah. I mean,
schoolyard stuff, schoolyard stuff.
Right. But we got two 77-year-old guys acting like I used to act in like 10th grade during the lunchroom. You know what I mean? And that's not the move.
It's disappointing. It's true.
It's disappointing.
So I'm like, that was a good one.
Right. But that shit, I agree. I did too. Like, I did kind of, a little bit. I kind of laughed at a few of them. But then I thought like some of the things were like.
Don't use the word smart with me. Did you just say the word smart?
Come on.
I was like, Trump is going hard now because he's like, that was disgusting. Right. You know what I mean?
But you're talking about the guy's children.
Okay. But at the end of the day, he is getting millions of dollars from Russia. And he's getting money from China too, Hunter. Hunter is getting money from Russia and from, we're in a bad position here, right? Because it's like, Trump is calling bullshit. And he's like, no, sanction China. Sanction, okay? And then you've got China.
Russia?
He's sanctioning China, right? And he's like, maybe, he's stepping to Putin, right? He's bringing it to Putin. But then at the same time, you've got Biden here pandering to us, and he's got his hand in Russia's pocket. And he's got his son has got his hand in China's pockets. And this guy is like...
Does he, though?
But that's... it's like it's out there. Way before he was actually the nominee. The news has been out there. So it's like,
Right.
okay, whether it's whatever it is, we're being duped. Like that's where I'm at. I'm like, we're being taken for a ride. You know what I mean?
Right. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So I want to get your grade though. Like, what do you give Biden? How do you grade Biden? And how do you grade Trump?
I mean,
do you see a future for like number 2 and number 3? Do you see a future for debate number 2 and debate number 3? Do you think?
I hope. I mean, I think I don't know how you control it. That's the issue.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even in the courtroom, we got bailiffs and the judge will hold you in contempt and throw you in jail if you do what they did. If I was a lawyer, you know, but I'm a biased grader. You know that already. You know that about me.
Yeah.
But I think that I would probably give Trump, you know, well, let's back up and I'll start with the moderator.
Okay.
I would probably give him a C.
I give him a C too. Yeah.
I would give him a C because I think he could have figured out a way to address the overreaches early, and he may have been able to prevent them going forward.
Yeah.
I think they both got so comfortable stepping on each other that it was by the time he tried to intervene, it was nothing he could do.
It was a dogfight. Yeah.
It really was. And I mean,
be fair now.
I can't be fair. I'll be honest with you. You know, Trump's like the kid that always comes into class late. I got to grade his paper a little bit harder.
Yeah. But is the paper good? Is the paper good? Does it have substance?
Well, the thing is I know that the people that support Trump got everything they wanted from him.
Did you? He's got to win you over. No.
Not at all, though.
Okay.
Not at all. And the funny part is, I wanted him to be a little bit more presidential.
Gotcha.
You know?
Yeah.
I thought he had a very good opportunity a few times in the evening to really highlight some of the things that we've talked about just in the last hour.
Yeah.
But he like devolved into something else.
Yeah.
So, you know, he gets a D.
He gets a D.
Yeah, he gets a D.
A D for Donald.
Yeah. And that's on the I'm giving him that D because I know that everybody who liked it and likes that type of debate gave him an A. So I know I can't flunk him. I'm playing to the audience.
That's
right. And I think Biden probably gets a C as well.
Yeah, he gets a C too. Yeah.
You know, because I think a lot of times I felt it was like watching, and I put this on Twitter actually. I felt like in a lot of ways it was like watching an old fighter past his prime.
For what, Biden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you see him fight a guy and it's a very competitive fight. And you say, wow, if this guy was maybe about 10 years younger, it would be a different fight.
Yeah. Low energy. Yeah.
He was low energy. I think he lost his place a couple of times on points that he really should have made.
Yeah.
I think there were points where one thing I'll say for Trump was when he asked his question, he made Biden answer his question.
He took the bait. I was disappointed. Every time you're like, dang, you keep taking the bait. You're supposed to be experienced. He's going to keep making you take the bait.
Right.
The bait. So I give him a C too, just for that.
Right.
I give Trump a C as well.
Okay. So you're a better grader than me.
I am because I'm not biased. You see what I knew we didn't get a president to begin with. I knew we got the guy from The Apprentice. And you got to remember something. I'm in real estate, and this is a real estate guy.
Right.
When I was a kid, he was the guy we all aspired to be like.
Right. Right.
During his generation, he wanted to be like Conrad Hilton. So it's like the guy's got something. Whatever he's got,
he does.
He's got something. So I give him a C because of what you said. He wasn't presidential. He was poking. That's what he does. He goes in there and he just starts poking with his little one-liners and his little zingers. You know what I mean? And then if you go for it,
he won the argument.
Yeah, he won, but he has to work on being more presidential. I think you're right about that. Right?
And I'll say this too, is I think that he has to work on being more relatable.
To that demographic, yeah.
Right? Because I mean, you know, he's a product of privilege.
Yeah.
And so his experience in life is very different to the experience that so many other people have had.
Right.
But when you have a guy sit there and say that, you know, his son is recovering from substance abuse, which I didn't even know about till Trump brought that out.
Biden's son?
Yeah, I didn't know that his son.
Old news.
You know,
yeah, that's old news.
Had no idea. Yeah. You know, even though I think, you know, women and children, the wife and the children should always be off limits in that context.
Yeah, Scarface, old school. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
but I thought that was compelling, to hear him say that, because it, kind of humanized him a bit. And I think sometimes Trump's ego kind of gets in the way of him humanizing himself.
Yeah.
And he becomes such a distant type of figure that you can't relate to him.
Well, that's the narcissism, right? Like that level, that sense of grandiosity, right? That's what you're talking about.
Right.
He's got a lot of that, but he's also very accomplished, and nobody's deflated his balloon. Anybody that tries to deflate his balloon gets fired. So it's like, this is what you got stuck with, right?
Right.
And I give the moderator a C too, because like you said, like he wasn't, I think somebody like him, he's not confrontational. Wallace is not confrontational. He's more like, he's even keel. You know what I mean? So it's like, for him to try to get Trump to calm down and try to get these guys to stop, jumping on top of each other and stuff, it was hard for him to do, right? But it should have came from his language. He should have done more, a little bit of pandering on his side. He could have done that on his side. And that way he would have more control of the situation, right? It's not about the size of the dog in the fight, right?
Right. It's fighting the dog.
Yeah. And he ain't got it. Like, Wallace was food for Trump at the end of the day.
He was.
Yeah, he kept building him up. And that's what he needed. That's what Trump needs. He uses that as a supply to feed his narcissism. You know what I mean?
Right. You got to cater to his ego.
Yeah.
If you want to get a response. Yeah. And I just felt like, and I also think the fact that Wallace is one of these old school guys, like, he's been interviewing people since probably Ronald Reagan.
Right.
And you've never seen a debate like this.
Yeah. It was a dogfight. It was crazy.
I've never seen a debate. 44 years I've been on this earth, probably been watching politics at least half that time. Yeah. Never seen anything like that.
I watched it 3 times. I loved it.
See?
I loved it. I think it was great. But I do expect more from him. You're right about that. Right? Do you expect to see a second one? Will you watch the second one?
Of course. I mean, like you just said, it's great reality TV. I don't know how good it is when it comes to politics, but it's great reality TV.
Yeah. I hope he impresses you on the next one. I hope he's more presidential on the next one.
Wow. You know what? I think he would have to walk. As I said before, I would love to see how his base would respond to him saying things that would make me be more receptive to him.
Yeah. Once you hear what's to come, because I've been following him. I followed his rally in Minnesota. Oh that rally in Minnesota is he did an amazing job there. He's such a good storyteller. When he's done with this in the next 4 years, I'm going to buy his book. The guy tells great stories. He's an amazing storyteller. And the way that he doesn't look at the teleprompter, he just connects with his base off the top of his head. That's a skill. You know what I mean?
It is.
The way that Biden was looking into the camera and appealing to people's emotions, that's a skill. They've got that in common. Only that Trump is more direct. He goes directly after his opponent. You see? So they both have that skill to appeal to the people. So I think when he's done with this, again, he's putting on a mask. He's putting on the president. This is, if I'm president, this is how I'm going to do it kind of thing. You know what I mean? But if he takes the mask off and he goes back into real estate and he's got his kids and he goes back into book writing and he goes into book writing and speeches, oh, forget it. He's going to pack stadiums.
He's gonna go into probably some type of like talk show or political talk.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what I would like to see in the next debate. I would like to see them challenge one another's ideas versus attacking each other personally.
Sure.
Right. And then let's decide who's got the best process to move us forward.
Yeah. I don't think Trump is humble enough to receive that. He's going to think he knows it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's not that humble to receive instruction. That's his problem.
But exactly. I think that's going to turn a lot of people off.
If Biden put him under the wing though, and said, well, this is what this is and that is that would destroy his entire platform, because he does have 47 years and he could serve as a mentor to Trump. He could. But he's not willing to do that either because there's too much animosity. You know what I mean?
But you can't mentor a man who won't take instruction.
There it is.
You can't mentor a man who won't take direction.
Yeah.
And I don't really see Trump as that person that's going to go to you and tell you that I don't know. I'll give you an answer to something before I tell you I don't know what the question is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he'll try to figure it out. That's the kind of guy he is. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
Right.
We could do this again. ongoing, because I like to hear your take on it, man.
My pleasure, man.
And we're still friends. We didn't hang up on each other.
Never that. And you know what? That's how we have that's how a conversation is supposed to be had, isn't it?
Right. For sure. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, brother.
Yeah.
So listen, I guess we'll talk soon, right?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for taking the time. I'm looking forward to the next one. Again, Richard Washington, Richard J. Washington Law, New York City, criminal defense, labor, and employment law, right? Also, Biden supporter. Yes, so watch that.
Yes, sir.
All right. This is the Bottom Line Podcast, where we say what we mean, and we mean what we say. Because at the end of the day, at the core of everything that is, was, and forever will be, there will always be the bottom line.